Hey everyone, this is JJ Outlaw.
And T Outlaw.
And we're the co-hosts of the Gourmet Goober Podcast. Hey, let me ask you something. Have you ever wanted to make a podcast of your very own? Well, Spotify has a platform that lets you make one super easy and distribute it everywhere and even earn money. It's an all-in-one place solution and it's for free. Get that. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or your computer, so that way, no matter what your setup is, you can start creating today. And get this, you can distribute your podcasts to Spotify and everywhere else that podcasts are heard, right? You can even make video podcasts right on Spotify as well. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscription. And best of all, did I tell you guys it's free, right? Because it's free and there's no catch. Let me tell you something. Ever since I discovered Spotify for Podcasters, I've been loving this platform, okay? It makes creating and producing the Gourmet Goober Podcast so easy to do. And it makes it so easy as well to distribute the show through all the platforms. And you guys know you can hear the Gourmet Goober Podcast everywhere. So I highly recommend it you give this a try. Do me a favor, download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started today. Thank you for listening to the Gourmet Goober Podcast. Now back to the show. Hey guys, this is JJ Outlaw, better known as the Gourmet Goober. Hope you guys are having a great week despite some of the news that have undoubtedly been affecting us all. I'm hoping that what I'm sharing with you today will give you a little bit of joy that is so very needed right now. And that is in regards to an introduction of a project that Big Daddy and I have been working secretly behind the scenes for about 2 weeks. And that is part of a rollout of a feature that we're starting called Goober Bites. Goober Bites, or bonus episodes of the Gourmet Goober. It'll feature everything from interviews and live events and just exclusive content that you can't get anywhere else that are just for our listeners. This first Goober Bite, by the way, is super, super cool. I had a chance earlier this week to interview Loren, Bouchard, Nora Smith, and Bernard Derriman. They're the three filmmakers behind the Bob's Burgers movie, which actually comes out this Friday, May 27th. We chatted on everything, you guys. We talked about what it was like to produce a movie when everyone was sheltering in place during the pandemic. We talked about why Kevin Kline and Jordan Peele were two of their favorite guest voices for the show. And this is totally true, you guys, I got the 411. I know people don't say that anymore, but hey, go with me. I got the 411 on what would be a future burger of the day, which if you're a Bob's Burger fanatic like I am, you know that is pretty cool. So, wanted to take this opportunity just for a few housekeeping notes before we play the video. Oh, not the video, it's the audio. One thing I wanted to point out is that we record the interview over Zoom. So if you guys have ever been on Zoom, you know there's some weird moments with the audio, so I just want to apologize in advance for that. 2, Big Daddy, unfortunately, couldn't be part of this segment. And rest assured, everything is cool. He just had a work engagement and he couldn't split. So, just as a reminder, you'll hear back from Big Daddy and we'll talk more about what it took to put this episode together when the Gourmet Goober podcast returns to our regularly scheduled episodes on June the 7th. So just keep that in mind. And then finally, I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you so much to a few... Oh my gosh, I can't talk today. I'm so super psyched. But I wanted to say thank you to a few special people who helped put this together. First of all, wanted to thank the market team, who is a group of individuals who does multicultural marketing. They reached out to us for the interview. Also wanted to thank the Walt Disney Company, who not only hooked me up with these three incredible individuals, but I had a chance to see the Bob's Burgers movie before it came out in theaters. Yes, I got a screener. Let me tell you, by the way, just a side note, again, if you guys love Bob's Burgers as much as I do, you're going to love this movie. Lots of everything we love about the movie, right? Lots of great songs, goofy characters, and plenty of time with our faves, the Belchers. So, gotta check that out. And then lastly, wanted to just thank 20th Century Studios as well for just helping to arrange this also. So, we will hear the interview. I'll check in with you guys at the end. And then just as a reminder, I will be back on June the 7th along with Big Daddy, where we talk about the intersection of food and pop culture. Oh, one more thing. If you like the interview, let me know. Just email me at thegourmetgoober@gmail.com. You guys know how to get a hold of me. You can find me on Twitter at JJOutlaw, Instagram at Gourmet Goober. But yeah, so super excited. This is the first of many other features we're going to be rolling out this summer. But until we talk again, hope you enjoyed this interview. Check it out. And as promised, I'm back today with a bonus episode of the show. And today I'm so thrilled because I am actually joined by three of the geniuses behind the upcoming Bob's Burgers movie: Loren Bouchard, Nora Smith, and Bernard Derriman. Welcome to the Gourmet Goober.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, fantastic. Well, first of all, let me just say, and I think I said this off mic before we started recording, I'm a huge fan of the show. My husband teases me because I have seen every episode of Bob's Burgers, so let's say. In fact, 1 year for our anniversary, and this is too bad the mic is off so you can't see it. But he actually, for 1 year, gave me a pair of Louise's ears, actually. So actually have a pair with me. I won't wear them on camera because I know that's kind of goofy, but I just wanted to let you know that I have them.
That's great.
Good egg.
Yeah, that's either a great present or a terrible present, depending on how you want to judge. The guy.
Well, you know what? We have been together. Actually, we just celebrated our 17th wedding anniversary, so I think it's
Congratulations.
You just sort of run out of ideas of what to give.
Right. But he knows you will.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, congratulations on the movie, and certainly just wrapping up your 12th season of Bob's Burgers. I know that you initially, if I'm not mistaken, announced the movie back in 2017. So I realize it's been quite a journey to get it to the big screen. Could you just share with our listeners a little bit of the journey of what it took to actually adapt this beloved show for the movies, especially since I know that a lot of this was done during the pandemic?
Yes, it was announced many years ago, and that looking back, to any of you who are ever going to make a movie, don't announce it until you really know that you're going to be able to get it done in a couple of years. We ended up needing more time, and I think the pandemic both contributed to that, but it also, in a funny way, actually worked to our advantage. The pandemic was, in the end, kind of helpful because Bernard in particular said, we cannot release this movie to streaming. Everyone agreed, but Bernard really articulated it. It was discussed, but it's already a TV show. So if you make a movie of your TV show and then release it to streaming, even during a pandemic, it's kind of just like a very long episode. No matter how hard we work, no matter how much blood and sweat was on the screen, you would still come with that particular wrapper on it. And we already do that. So we needed to release it in theaters. And so we needed to wait until it was safe for people to go see it in theaters. And as a result, this was our release date. And it also turned out to be a perfect release date because this is basically the time period in which the movie takes place. It's the last week of school and they're going into summer and they're thinking about summer. And so we, in a way, we couldn't have asked for a better weekend or a better year to come out.
Oh, that's great. One of the things when I researched prior to interviewing today was just learning a little bit of what it took, because I imagine with the pandemic and people being sheltered in different places, you had to be really creative about some of the imagery that you put on screen. So, for example, I love the story that Nora was dancing and then Bernard actually animated that based on, the photos and the videos that you provided him. What are some of the other ways that you really had to think outside the box in order to get this done to completion?
Well, I think from an animation perspective, it was all new to us, working from home. But in a lot of ways, that wasn't. It really didn't sort of slow us down at all. None of us had ever worked like that before. Really, especially on a big production like this with so many people involved. But it was weirdly seamless. We had our producer, Janelle Momery, she just sort of, when the pandemic hit, she was the one who just very quickly just said, this is what we're going to do. Everyone's going to go. We all had like a 15-minute windows one day, and everyone had to come in, grab their computers and run out. And which was really crazy. And then none of us had ever used Zoom before. None of us had used any of this stuff before. But the next day we were sort of in meetings and it felt like we'd been doing it sort of forever. But I mean, I know Loren will talk about the recording. That was different altogether.
That was a challenge. It was a pleasure too. Like Bernard said, it was a challenge that everyone rose to. Our audio team mailed microphones to our actors and instructions on how to build a pillow fort around the microphone so that they wouldn't have echo on their voice, room echo. And everyone did it. And a lot of that audio is in the movie. We worked on it long enough that they were able to go into studios at the very end and do pickups. But a lot of that original audio that they recorded in their closets and in their bedrooms and under their beds made it into the movie. So it's a challenge, but we also didn't want it to be a movie that had an asterisk next to it. We didn't want people to say, well, they did the best they could during a pandemic. We want it to be a movie that you can watch in a few years when hopefully this is a distant memory and it absolutely stands up and doesn't look like or sound like we had to cut any corner.
One of my favorite things about Bob's Burgers is the incredible collection of guest voices that you bring to the show, from Kevin Kline, who plays Mr. Fish Shoulder, to Jericho, who's actually played by Paul Rudd. Just curious, do you guys have like a dream guest that you've not had yet for the show?
I mean, Kevin Kline is kind of a dream come true to me already. Like, as someone who is like a huge fan of some movies of his that people maybe never saw, like I Love You to Death and everybody's seen A Fish Called Wanda. But anyway, like I love the fact, like I remember the first time I remember recording him, I'm gonna launch into a story about Kevin Kline. I remember he was saying like, you're a beef artist. And I hope I'm not taking credit for something that wasn't mine. And I was like, can he say like a beef artist, a buff artist? And he did it, and I was like, "Oh my god, Kevin Kline just said the fartest." Like, who knew? Like, when little Nora Smith was watching him, in his movies, that she would make him say something so stupid. But that was like a dream come true for kind of my whole family, actually. But also, we get people whose voices we fall in love with. We try to get them on the show as fast as possible.
Yeah. And I don't want to copy Nora and use an existing guest as an answer to your question, because I know you were asking about dream guests, but I do love Jordan Peele. I love his voice. I love the things he's able to do as an actor. I always say he's the greatest actor that's decided to quit acting. And I was so glad to at least get him just for a couple seconds in our movie. And I do miss having him as a regular guest on the show. He's still my dream guest.
All right, fantastic. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you guys so much. I want to be respectful of your time today as far as connecting. I do have one quick question that my podcast show host, who couldn't be here today, but he wanted me to make sure to ask you about the burger of the day. He's obsessed with that. We've actually tried to make it home. My co-host is actually my husband, T. Outlaw. Some of them we've been some successful with, some not. So he was just curious, do you guys have a favorite burger of the day, and have you actually tried to make them yourself?
Yes. I mean, yes and no. We try not to pick favorites, because then the other burgers of the days would get jealous. But we do have this question asked of us periodically, and so some of us know how to answer it. And I will also say we try to make a lot of the burgers that are in the cookbook, and we do try to make them, even the ones on the show that haven't been in a cookbook yet, let's say, we try to make them possible. We try to make it possibly true that burger would be good. Even though they're jokes, and even though they're just on the wall in a cartoon, and even though no one has to eat them to enjoy the show, we do try to make it sound like a burger that might be good. And so even if we haven't tried it, we've sort of mentally tried them all out. We try never to make one that's just purely a joke. We want Bob to sound like he might actually be a good chef, that those burgers might actually be pretty incredible. Daring, maybe, probably not for everyone, but for someone, he's made the perfect burger, at least, on some of those burgers of the day. I myself like a pineapple on a burger, and Nora pitched a joke for next Christmas, pineapple on 34th Street burger. And I thought that was, finally, we had a good pineapple pun. So I'm looking forward to that. And I actually do think a little meat and a little fruit always go well together.
Well, listeners, you've heard it here first. So if you see it on the show, that's where it came from. Thank you guys so much for that.
A pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Hey guys, this is JJ Outlaw, better known as the Gourmet Goober. First of all, want to give a huge thanks to Nora, Loren, and Bernard for, taking time out of their super busy schedule, answering our questions, sharing with us a future burger of the day. How awesome is that? Being cool about the audio problems. That is so super cool. So yeah, thank you for that. Also wanted to take a moment to shout out and say thank you to, again, the people at the Walt Disney Company for hooking me up with the screener for the Bob's Burgers movie. You know what? I think I may actually be writing my first movie review. Ooh. Since I'm so fancy now on Member of the Press. But no, all jokes aside though, if you have a chance to go see it this weekend, please do. It's a lot of fun. It's packed with a ton of joy, and it's a reminder we could all use joy right about now. So definitely be good to yourself and go check it out in theaters beginning on May 27th. Also wanted to say thank you to Julian. Love you, Julian, and the rest of the great people at the market for connecting us with the Walt Disney Company and with this opportunity. And then finally, just want to remind you that Big Daddy and I, you haven't gotten rid of Big Daddy. He will be back on June the 7th. So you can check us out when we are returning with all new stories that cover the intersection of food and pop culture. So on behalf of everyone, the Gourmet Goober, Big Daddy, myself, and of course our doggy producer Braxton, didn't forget about him. Wanted to say thank you for listening, and until next time, happy eating.